We are students from Tavelli, and you are listening to the Rhythms of Youth show on KRFC 88.9 FM, your community radio station in Fort Collins, Colorado. Miss Sparks is great.
We are here in the Green Studio at KRFC Fort Collins. Really exciting. We have Miss Lindsey England from Johnson Elementary School, our teacher out there. Hello, Lindsey.
Hello.
You know, this is really exciting, and we're going to have each of the 4 youth from your school who are here with us to have great conversation, introduce themselves. We're going to start here on the right side.
Hi, I'm Caleb.
I'm Allie. I'm Madison.
And I'm Jackson.
What an exciting project that all of you, along with other fellow students, are working on this week and last week, leading up to something extremely exciting happening on November 14th, the Blue Star Connection event at the Blind Pig, a fundraiser for Blue Star Connection. And something that is really exciting about this event is the youth being involved in helping with the fundraising, Lindsey.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I started doing this project with a connection that I made in Grand County with John Catt, who was essentially doing these cigar box guitars, and we were doing them at the school. So I've kind of done this project a couple of years, and I brought it down with me to Fort Collins when I just recently got a job here at Johnson Elementary. And I've shared this project with my students to kind of bolster their excitement in the program that I'm trying to start at Johnson. And it's been a lot of fun. We've had the biggest number of guitars that I've ever done this year. I've got 32 of them on my plate, whereas I started this project, I had 12. So
you did? Wasn't it like 22 last year?
We did 22. So yeah, I just keep adding. So maybe next year we'll do 42 and so on down the road. Who knows? But you know, it's started to create this sort of momentum in my classroom in art that's been really fun to watch as the kids get really excited about this project.
And really able to incorporate different parts of curriculum into this project. So part of their project is they have to name their guitars, and because we're doing the colors of music this year is our guitar theme, and they have to incorporate elements of alliteration into their guitar. So I know Allie's guitar. Allie, what was your guitar's title?
Wolfgang's Whimsical Wonderland
was the title of the guitar that they came up with, and Wonderland actually turned into the color. And I'll let her talk a little bit later how she kind of came up with that. But Jackson also, they had a great title for their guitar. What was?
It was Poppin' Percussion Purple.
So you see how they're kind of integrating some of those different elements of music into their guitar project that they're doing, in addition to doing the artwork on it. And, you know, some of them kind of, you know, are here today because their artwork is kind of encapsulating all these different things that we're working on in class, incorporating these different elements of shapes and color and value and texture. So when you see these guitars, they aren't just painted a color. They actually have a lot of different of these artistic elements incorporated into them that really kind of facilitate our program in art.
What are the other colors we have involved here?
We've got, I think, Poulenc's Perfect Peach was a color that we came up with. We're kind of making them up as we go, and it's really been interesting. Some of the kids, there was Amadeus's Amazing Apple was a color. So that's something that we're still working on, you know, because we still have another week in production. We only have 7 of them finished right now, but we have, you know, how many more to go? And we just have this week to kind of finish them because we're putting the strings and the pickups and the plugins and all that good stuff in them on Friday.
You are, and this being recorded on November 3rd, and this will air on the 11th, a few days before this wonderful fundraiser by Blue Star Connection, getting instrumentation to kids that have life-threatening illnesses. And this project with these cigar box guitars, as they're called, which are functional, which we're going to talk about, being auctioned off, being sold to bring money into Blue Star Connection. So these youth not only having this curriculum-based wonderful art project, but also being able to give back to the community in a very profound way.
Yeah. One of the things that, you know, I thought was interesting with this project was when I presented to the students. Do you guys remember the first question you asked me?
Do we get to do our own?
It was, do we get to do our own, and do we get to keep them was the first question that we asked. And, you know, what was my response to you when you asked when I answered, do you get to keep the guitars when we started making them? Maddie?
No.
Okay. So then talk a little bit about, was it something that you wanted to do, even though you weren't going to get to keep it?
Yeah, when I realized why we were going to not keep them, then I realized that it was for a good cause, so then I was actually quite happy to do them.
And as an artist, how does that kind of give you that sense of being an artist too, doing work that you don't actually get to keep? Does it make you feel like more of an artist?
Kind of.
How?
Well, people are going to see what you do, so you want to put more, effort into it than you would if you were going to keep it.
Right. And so how has that shaped what you're doing with your designs?
Well, I try not to think how much I like it. I want to think how much other people like it. Instead of just trying to please myself, I want to try to please other people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's like a step up right there. Really already looking outside yourself as an artist. That's quite amazing. Jackson?
I think that when you start these guitars, when we were first doing them, we all were working with our partners, and pretty soon after we missed maybe one or two classes because of days off of schools, we've started working as a team, and that has brought us together to create something that maybe, because it's not just us that's working on it, it's other people in our grade. We've come to trust them, and it has made it more of a community project for our whole fifth grade, instead of just something that you're thinking of what you would like or what your partner would like.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bringing us together as a team to make these.
And I think that that's really neat that we're kind of looking at that element of art as a collaborative thing. It's not just one person's design. Everyone's kind of taking ownership of people's designs. I know that Allie, for example, she started a design. And then can you kind of talk about the process of what happened with your guitar?
We saw what other people were doing to other people's guitars, and we thought, oh, that would be a good idea. So we changed it into our own way of doing it, and then we put it on the guitar that we were helping work on.
And did you find that what you started off with your original idea, Caleb, and what you kind of started doing, has it changed at all?
I think it has.
How?
I'm not quite sure.
Well, talk a little bit about, because your design that you kind of, when we started drafting, and then the design that you were coming up with the other day, they were kind of different, wouldn't you say? Yeah. So what was it that it was inspiring you to create the last time you were in class?
I'm not quite sure.
You were just going with it?
Yeah.
You know, and that's really interesting too, because as an artist, you have a shift in perspectives as you're working on a project. So to have the flexibility to be able to do that within the scope of the project is cool. It's laid out that way, Lindsey.
Mm-hmm. And, and that kind of wasn't my intention. Originally we started out with partners, and we were going to work on these in these pairs. And with the way that kind of things worked out with school, it was just, we had to, in order to finish this project, kind of take a look at it a different way, and how interesting that it worked out that we were looking at it in a way that art kind of naturally lends itself to doing, in this manner of being collaborative and, sharing ideas with each other. And, I've seen a lot of really good ideas come out of students that I don't think maybe would have, they might not have been there beforehand, but I think since they've kind of been given this flexibility in the classroom, I'm seeing a lot more of these creative outlets come out. And this has been something new for me too, because these are a new group of students that I'm working with. I'm getting a chance to see their creative capacities in this project as well. And so that's been really eye-opening for me as a teacher.
Yeah, you're new to Fort Collins, so these are all new students for you. You had a wonderful group of kids I'm sure you're still connected with.
Absolutely. And, and the projects that I've done in the past, I kind of knew what I was working with when I was giving these ideas to these kids. And I kind of knew the level of enthusiasm that they were going to be putting into this project. So, this is early for me to do a project like this. I usually do this project towards the end of the year when I've gotten a chance to work with the kids for a longer amount of time. So I'm putting in a colossal amount of trust, and it's interesting that Jackson touched on trust within working with each other's designs. I'm putting a lot of trust in these students to create the largest amount of guitars that I've ever done in the shortest amount of time that I've ever done it. So I'm hoping that, and from what I've seen so far, even just from the artwork of this that's in this room right now, I've seen a lot of really good things coming out of the program that I'm working with.
We are here in the Green Studio with Lindsey England from Johnson Elementary, along with Jackson, Madison, Allie, and Caleb here hanging out. And all of this leading toward a wonderful fundraiser that we're having. And we're going to have Jackson tell us what and when that is.
This is a fundraiser coming up on Thursday, November 14th. And it is called the Blue Star event at the Blind Pig. The guitars that the 5th grade has done will be on display there. There will be some music and different things going on at that time. And then in the end, we will end up auctioning off the guitars that we have made for a charity for kids with a light. And this charity buys musical instruments for kids with life-threatening diseases such as cancer. That Thursday, down in Old Town at the Blind Pig, we will be having that event. That will be for a good cause.
Really well put, Jackson. Nice job, buddy.
So the caveat of this project is that all of this hard work that we're putting into the guitars, some of it does come back to us as students. And how does that work, Caleb? Do you remember how that's going to work?
One of their students get to keep it.
Okay, so how do you get a chance to keep your guitar?
Putting a lot of effort into it.
So when I asked you to create something, I told you I wanted you to create something that you would want, because there's one student in the 5th grade that, through following some of these different tasks or like a checklist of things, and these are sort of their success criteria for this project. The person that meets all of these different goals earns points for doing those things, and the person that earns the highest amount of points in this project actually will get to keep their guitar. So
very cool.
So that's the neat part about all of, we are doing this for a good cause. And, I did take into consideration the first thing that they wanted to do was keep one of these. And so I think it is neat that one person will actually get their artwork back. All of that time and effort and energy that you put into your work, for one person, it kind of will pay off in a sense that they'll get a chance to keep that. And as an artist that's done a guitar and was gifted back to me in the past, and now I have it hanging on display in my own home, it is a very neat treasure to have, something that you've done like that. So that's something that I hope that the kids are looking forward to. And that's something that I hope is also kind of promoting some of this good creative work that I'm seeing. So I don't know how you guys feel about it. Is that an exciting thing that you might get to keep your guitar?
Yeah. Hi, this is Jackson.
This is Madison. This is Allie.
This is Caleb.
This is Miss England.
You are listening to
The Rhythms of Youth Show, KRFC 88.9 FM, your community radio station in Fort Collins.
And again, these are, in addition to being very individually ornamented and beautiful to look at, these are actually functioning guitars.
Mm-hmm. They are.
2-string guitars. They have a pickup, they have a plug-in, a 1/4-inch plug-in, and non-fretted. You can play them like a dobro, I believe.
Yes.
And pluck them, of course.
And we'll actually have some of them playing next week once we build them. Part of the station is once they put the strings on them and they finish up stringing the guitars, we're going to have the amp set up right there so we can plug them in, and we'll have some musicians there that'll show the kids how they actually work. And
that
how
is
they
incredible
play.
that these not only are ornamental, but they're actually functioning and they're learning that. That's incredible.
Yes.
We are having a great time here in the Green Studio at KRFC with Ms. Lindsey England and 3 of her wonderful students from Johnson Elementary, Jackson, Madison, and Allie. And we're going to talk about the creative process that went into the construction of these wonderful guitars, which are going to be at the Blind Pig event, Thursday, November 14th, 214 Linden Street, Blue Star Connection. We are auctioning off these guitars, which are functional and very beautiful, made by these wonderful students and their other students at Johnson, for the purpose of purchasing instruments for kids with life-threatening illnesses here in the area. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe we can have Allie start talking about the creative process of her guitar, Wolfgang's Whimsical Wonderland. Why don't you talk a little bit about the process from the beginning to end, because you have a finished guitar that's actually on display right now in Fort Collins at Find of the Day.
Well, at first I had this design, and I wasn't really sure that was what I wanted to do. So as I was going through, as I was like working on it, I was seeing other people's guitars and what they were doing on their guitars, and I thought those looked cool. So I took that design that I thought looked cool and I made it into my own, and then I put it on my guitar. And then when we started working in the grade, when everybody started working on everybody's guitars, the person that worked on mine actually put some really cool stuff on mine that I actually really like, and it was really unique, and so...
So are you saying, Allie, that you did design work that was used by somebody else? Like you were the designer of this guitar and someone else went in and did the actual work that you designed?
Yeah, because I changed my designs a few times, and then when we started working as a grade, that person looked at my designs and actually took that and put it on my guitar.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, part of the process of doing art is the planning process. And so that was the first thing that we had to do as when we got started with this. They had the guitar sitting in front of them as a blank canvas. And what happened, why don't one of you guys talk a little bit about how you got to choose your color? Was it your choice?
Well, it was our choice, but we had to, not really, because Miss England, she put tons of paint bottles in this one bag, and she called one of us, one from our partnership, and then they stuck their hand in there without looking, and they pulled out a paint bottle, and that was their color.
Okay, so Madison, then what color did you pull out the first time?
First time we pulled out black.
Okay, and then after you got your color, then what was the next thing that you had to do?
We had to look for the materials of the black color and start laying out our design. And then later we didn't paint our guitar, someone else did. And then it soon got to the point where someone read our plans, and then they put our designs down, and they added their own little gadgets to it.
So did you find that if your plan, if you didn't do a good plan, what happened?
Well, in the end, if someone didn't have a clear plan, which was the case with the guitar, I ended up, putting the decorations on. It kind of got thrown in the trash because if you can't understand what's going on, then it's hard to execute it, and so we just decided to go with what we were thinking at the moment. So we started adding little focal points on the guitars and figured out a new kind of plan. And we at first had to figure out what we wanted on their guitars, and then once we had all the materials and we put it on, then we would be able to start gluing once it was fluent with all the materials were the same color. You had to find the materials that were the same color so that we would have different color guitars.
And so part of the project was that we're doing 32 different colors, and but we're still using similar materials. So what Jackson's table actually did that day in art, I put down a red orange, a red, a yellow orange, a yellow, or so there's a lot of colors in a very similar color family, and I had these 5 boys just kind of working with the very same materials, take these different materials and kind of manipulate them and make all these different designs. And so it was neat that they did that, that they kind of took these, because they are using sort of the same colors, but they're also kind of seeing how this color might take on a different, it might take on a different hue when you put it with this, or it also kind of takes on a different identity with these other colors. So it's been really neat to kind of see how those materials will work different ways with the different colors that we're using.
They're learning so many different things within the scope of this project, Lindsey.
Yes, we have the artistic part of it. There's a musical element to it. There's even a tie-in, like I said, with them naming their guitars, bringing it back to an academic focus with this project too. Wow,
remarkable. And then this really being a community event, reaching out to the whole community with this art project.
Yeah, and so then in itself, then all of those things kind of roll together into that actual social learning or that community learning piece that goes along with it. It's not just something that, this is a lesson that transcends beyond the classroom. When you start talking about, and Madison touched on this earlier, when you're thinking of something outside of yourself, I don't want to do this project to look good just for me. I want to think about somebody else's perspective. I think that's kind of that mark of when you take another person's perspective and you really start looking at things from a different way. That's a mark of maturity in a sense, and that kind of helps you grow as a person in the world and just be a part of a community. And that's huge. That's not something that is a standard part of curriculum. It's not 2 + 2. It's not how to spell a word correctly. It's a life skill that you're learning.
It's kind of remarkable if somebody is just tuning into this to realize that we're talking to Johnson Elementary School students. It's quite remarkable. It's very impressive. And we're really lucky to have you, Lindsey England. You recently moved from another part of Colorado into Fort Collins here. So it's really something to have you here in town.
I have felt very welcome, and I've only been here for about 3 months. And I feel very fortunate to have been able to make this connection down here and to get a job teaching art in a district like this. It's been more than I could have ever imagined. I came from a very small district in Fraser. I had a school that's about half the size of the population that I work with now. But I inherited twice the talent and, a larger platform on which to kind of put these things out to the world, because these are the same sorts of projects we were doing in our small community in the mountains. And now we have the opportunity to impact a lot more people by doing this project. And that's one of the really neat things that I'm seeing about coming down here and doing this in Fort Collins. It's given us a bigger audience, if you will.
Yeah, I can totally see why they hired you. In the short time that I've known you, just there's some very profound things happening. The way that you're incorporating all of the different elements, life skills, as you said, into this project. So these guitars, being a few days from this interview, they'll be having the pickups installed and the 1/4-inch input plugs and the strings and so forth. So what is the next step for these guitars?
The next step is we have to finish them, right? So we'll have a lot of work to do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so I'll probably have we've got a lot of coming in during lunch sort of things that are going on during the week right now to get these finished. And it's kind of I told the kids, I was like, this is an all hands on deck. So how many kids would you say we had in there the other day during recess?
We had about 20.
There's a big group of kids that came in, gave up playtime outside to come in and help. And then because, like I said, we have a terminal deadline, and that's something that also we're learning what deadlines are and how we meet them. And on Friday, November the 8th, we have some members of the Grand County Blues Society coming down. We have some other local musicians in Fort Collins that are going to be coming in to help facilitate the building part of the guitars. And that's something that, if kids aren't really responding to the artistic part of it, and I've seen some of that too. There are some kids that you put a guitar in front of them and then, nothing really comes. But I think that there's that other aspect of this project where you also get to build an instrument. And so I'm hoping that this kind of touches on something for everybody, in a sense that, if you weren't really good at the artistic part of it, maybe you're going to be really good at drilling holes and screwing in plugins and, stringing a guitar. And so I'm hoping that everyone finds a little bit of success in this project. in addition to that building part where the kids will, they'll essentially have 3 stations. They're going to first drill a hole, put the plug-in in, then they'll add the pickups to the guitars, and that's when we take the backs off. They'll solder some wires, and then they're going to take them across the hall to the music room. And in the music room is where they're going to string the guitars, and then we'll have an amp set up in there so that they can also plug them in. And, I mean, you can play these with a slide for your finger. You can play these with a Coke can, so they'll get a chance to actually play the guitars and see how they work.
That's fantastic. And there's 2 strings, and they each have a different tuning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a
cool.
low string, high string.
Again, a lot of different ways and different interest levels that somebody's going to find some aspect of this project that they really tap into, that they enjoy a lot.
And so one of the things that I actually talked to John Catt about last night, we had this conversation, was how we're going to kind of divide the kids up and how we're going to manage, because at this point we're going to have 80 kids. We're looking at 80 kids, our population of our 5th grade, with kind of not necessarily a one-to-one, but maybe in these kind of small groups. One person taking on a role of stringing a guitar, one person taking on the role of drilling and putting the plug-in in, and each of them are going to take ownership over one component of building the guitar. I'd be interested to know, just by what I described, what part of the guitar building you'd be interested in doing. Putting strings on, putting a plug-in, putting a pickup. What do you think?
This is Madison, and I think that stringing the guitar would be fun, and I think it'd also help kids connect with music, to see with music and art, to see their artwork being played and feel it being played. And I think it can connect them to their artwork and music.
So you're excited about putting the strings on the guitar, Madison. What about you, Jackson?
I'm kind of interested in the plug-in, because when you're taking something that's handmade and craftsman and all your own, you're making it something and turning it into something that seems like everything else.
So you like the fact that this is an electric guitar?
Yes.
It's kind of modern. It's a little bit more like with
adding
it.
a modern touch to something that's craftsman.
Yeah, and something that, we talked a little bit about this last time, about these guitars have this historical element of starting out at a time where, they probably didn't have plugins, because these weren't electrified at a point when they were started making, when musicians started making these instruments, hundreds of years ago. So
they really did. There was even like a 1-string instrument that they would play. They would use what they had, and they were very innovative, I think, with what they had.
So we're kind of actually taking this old instrument and modernizing it in a way with electrifying it with the plug-in. So I think it's neat that Jackson is really interested in that element of the guitar. Allie, what about you?
I'm excited to do all of it because it just sounds like fun, and it's going to be really fun just putting it on. And then if you know how to do it later in life, you might be able to do it and give it away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of this, Lindsey, and really well put, all 3 of you, is you will be meeting some folks from the Winter Park area. They'll be coming down to meet the students here, and they're just going to be so thrilled to meet all the students.
Absolutely. I think that, this is something that, as I share this project with people that I've done this with in the past, it's getting a lot of really positive rapport already. People have high expectations, knowing what has come out in the past, and knowing kind of my reputation as far as doing art with students. So there's a lot of excitement that's kind of being built around this project too, by people even outside of our little city and our little bubble here, which is kind of neat. It's spreading around, which I think is important when you're talking about getting this idea of what it is we're trying to do out to the general population. The more people you kind of have on board that are supporting that, the better.
And then additionally, you have people locally like Renee Shaw, who's doing so much to make this, and her husband Robert from the Robert Wilson Blues Band playing this event, that are really putting time into making this a success as well.
Absolutely. And I think that that's kind of one of the really neat things that I'm looking forward to with this project. Kind of goes beyond just the building part of it. I think that that's fun, and I'm probably going to try and set up this week, if I can get it done quickly enough, a special viewing of all of the guitars at the school, so the kids and the parents can come in and see all of the work that we've done. But on November the 10th, that Sunday night, we're going to bring them to the Blind Pig, and I'm really excited about seeing them all together. From white all the way to black through our color spectrum, because that was this project, we've been talking a lot about how it's collaboration. It's, one person started a plan and then somebody else kind of picked up their design and went with it and used, maintain the integrity of what that child started and put down on paper, but then also kind of let the materials that they were using, guide their own inspiration to what they were doing. And so, in doing this, it's kind of that seeing how it all works together with all the different colors too. No one color, no two colors are going to look alike. And I think that's something that I'm really excited to see. I want to see the finished product. When you kind of see things happening in bits and pieces, it's hard to visualize this big the end product as it is. But that's what I think I'm most excited about seeing is all of the guitars kind of lined up together. Because I think this is a project where one guitar may look great, but when you put 32 of them next to each other, I think that the effect is going to be something that is quite profound.
It is profound. And I think that everybody that's become aware of this project is really enthusiastic about it, really excited about it.
Are you guys excited?
Yeah.
So Jackson, Madison, and Allie, we should kind of talk a little bit about how it's been for you kind of overall working with Miss England, her being new to the school, Johnson Elementary, and how that's been working with her on this project. I'll start with you, Allie.
It's actually really fun because this is something different because the other art teachers, the 5th grade, do the same thing every year in the 5th grade. And so this year we get to do something different than the other 5th graders have done. And it's more exciting for our school because they know they're going to be doing something different than, like, if they have an older brother or sister, they're going to have a different project than their brother or sister.
Madison?
I'm actually really excited about this. I wasn't here last year, but I just like how she thought that we can make these guitars out of our 100% imagination. And I think it's really helpful because it's showing kids how to be creative and not to just lean on someone else to do that, but to think up their own thoughts. And I think that it's been really fun so far. When I am like going to get something for my guitar, I see kids cooperating, like oh, you should like put this on there, and oh, that would be cool on there. So they're helping each other, and they're helping the other kids get thoughts. And Miss England's also helping us to get thoughts, but it's mostly us. Like, we're like, wait, if we do this on there, then we can totally do that. And Miss England can come over and like just start straighten things up to make sure like you're not using you're using the right glue and stuff. But it's been really fun so far, so I like it.
It sounds like she's putting a lot of trust in you.
Yeah.
She's empowering you to make those decisions.
My job is to make sure that we use hot glue on the right materials and wood glue on the other materials. And let's make sure that there isn't like a big blob of glue that's left over here. And that's kind of, I want to focus more on that kind of craftsmanship element. And that's something that I think will help prepare them for middle school. Art really at the elementary level is about expanding your creativity. Whereas I think once you get into the higher level art in middle school, high school, you start to learn more of the technical elements of it. And so there is that tiny bit of preparation, but I don't want to overwhelm them with those things. So I still want to have them, I still want to allow them the opportunity to express that creative freedom, if you will.
How about you, Jackson?
I think, like most people, we all have a different perspective on our art. And so with the way that we've all been kind of pitching in and how we kind of one person started planning the way they might think, and then we started maybe having a different idea and putting them together, it helps it helps us think of other of how different people have different perspectives, and why it makes everybody else's art look better when that we're all different. Because if everything was the same, it wouldn't make it very interesting. So I think having different people's perspectives on what we're doing has a good effect on the product.
That is really well explained by all three of you. Quite lucid and very well explained. Lindsey, you've got to be thrilled with how this is coming along.
I'm nothing but proud of the work that I've seen come out of these students. And if this is the kind of trust that I can put into them, it really makes me excited about what we can do for the rest of the year. I forget that it's November. We have so much more art to do this year. And so if this is, and that's kind of, this momentum is what I'm really excited about, and what's kind of propel me to do more fun projects like this in the future. And I have to come in, and I'm establishing my own art program. These students have had a different teacher for the last 4 years, and I've got them this small amount of time. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of start some traditions that will be new for us, and that these kids will appreciate, and it'll help continue to garner that artistic ability that they have, that I think all kids have within them. So I'm excited. I feel, like I said, very fortunate to be in the school district and able to do what I'm doing, and feel the support, not just from the school, but from the community as well.
And of course, a big thank you and shout out to Mr. John Catt, who is the founder of Blue Star Connection. For you to be able to start your career at Johnson with such a cool, integrative, community-based project it's got to be like a kind of a teacher's dream in a way.
Well, it's funny. I've been reflecting about this just recently. Years ago, when I actually sat in my interview to get on with East Grand, which is where this project really started, I remember the former superintendent telling me, who sat in my interview, she goes, "I remember you saying that in your interview, Lindsey, that you wanted to be a part of a community." And that's what I spent my time in Fraser doing. And so to come here and have that foot in the door already, it feels like a really smooth transition. It feels, almost that this was my natural next step in life, to be able to bring something that I've had such ownership over for the last couple of years to here, and have such an immediate positive reception with it has been nothing but helping me propel forward with the choices that I made to come down to Fort Collins. And it makes me feel really good about my choice to come here. As hard as it was to leave my small community that I was teaching in before, I'm starting to make great connections with the students here and with different members of the community here. And so it feels really good. It feels like I'm clearly on the right path.
You are. And all the cool parents that you're working with too.
Absolutely.
Lindsey England from Johnson Elementary, our teacher there. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you
for sharing this project with us, and a lot of cool stuff upcoming. Caleb, Allie, Madison, and Jackson, all part of this great conversation that we're having, and these wonderful cigar box named guitars, which are being finished up the week after this interview, part of the Blue Star Connection event. So again, let's mention where these guitars were.
We had guitars displayed this weekend, starting on the first Friday's Art Walk. We had guitars at Find of the Day. We had a couple of guitars at Crescendo, downtown on College. And then we had some guitars at the Downtown Artery. So we had a couple of those local businesses get on board to help support, just kind of showcasing the artwork on these guitars through this weekend. And then we're going to come back, and they'll be at school coming back this week so that we can build them. And then they're going to the Blind Pig on November the 11th. They'll be there through the 14th when the event is.
Really nice. So the actual day of this airing, November 11th, is the first day, Monday, where
Yes.
these are going to be at those places you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Lindsey and all of you, thank you so much for being here in the Green Studio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.